Wrist Check podcast. The gang is back together again, and we got a special guest with us, Mr. VJ, aka Geronimo, CEO of Oris.
Woo! Hello, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
How does it feel?
It feels good.
Good.
I feel cool.
We feel cool.
Yeah, we feel cool.
I think our stock just went up, guys. Oh man. So this is a special episode. This is the first one where we have a special guest. If you're watching and you've been watching us, you know that we are. I think I can speak for all of us collectively. We are big fans of Oris.
Definitely.
Yes,
So
for sure.
this is definitely a privilege, and we are honored to have you here today.
Thank you.
First things first, wrist check.
Wrist check.
Rashawn, you want to kick us off?
Yes. So the watch guards have answered my prayers.
AKA Geronimo.
Yes. In the previous episode, I was referring to the Momotaro as one of my watches on my radar. Like I was saying before, just beautiful dial. I love the denim strap. It's actually Momotaro Japanese denim, which is super cool.
And it has battle stripes.
Yes.
Battle stripes.
That's the
Battle
best part.
stripes. The best part is when this watch is going to be purposed and worn and used and, loved and cared for, it's going to take on my own character and tell my story. So this watch is definitely amazing.
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm a big fan of that one.
Yeah.
As an avid collector of vintage denim, I'm very familiar with Momotaro.
Yes.
It's a hit. Between the strap and the dial and the bezel, and then it's on that coin edge, it's got like almost like a bronze color.
Mhm.
It's really, really nice.
Super
It is,
nice.
yeah. That'll patina as
Oh,
well.
really? That'll
Yeah.
be seen as well.
Nice.
So you get a little rust on that. That'll go back to the dial too.
Yeah.
Sort of that Statue of Liberty green.
And it's funny
for
that
sure.
green on the dial was something that it was one of the first ones that was sampled. And then it was like tried a bunch of things and went back to that one because that one was really the best. Like the way the green was, and
Fire.
Yes.
you don't
awesome.
expect that color to go so well with that setup there, but
It goes so
does.
well with the denim.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It does.
so
yeah,
big.
It
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
does. It definitely does.
You should probably, after like 3 months of wearing that strap, and throw it in with your laundry, see what happens.
That's actually a great idea. That's
Or
a great
take it to
idea.
the beach and rub it in
Yeah,
some
of
sand.
course. Of course.
Purpose that thing, man.
Oh, for sure.
Why don't we get to you, Ben?
So I'm
what do you
wearing
got?
the big crown, the Clemente edition. So super excited about that, especially because the more I wear this thing, the strap's gonna age and soften up like a baseball glove will. So I'm very excited to see how it ages and the patinas. What I love about this thing too is the details. The 21 on the date is actually in gold because it was Roberto Clemente's number. So it matches
wow.
the color of his jersey. I have number 2983 out of 3,000. So I'm high up there. And that's exactly where I want to be. You want to be as close to the bottom as possible or as high up as you can. So I'm not complaining about that.
The dial on that guy kind of looks like a baseball too.
Yeah, the white.
Mhm.
It's not, it's like a true white, but it's not. It's definitely like baseball white. It's like bone almost. Like there's no real like gloss to it.
Off-white punt.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
There you go. Kind of matches my t-shirt a little bit. Like a little aged white t-shirt.
Tight.
So it's cool.
Respect. I am wearing a watch that I've admired for a little bit. This is the Dat Watt limited edition. Part of an initiative that you guys do, Change for the Better, if I'm
Yes.
not mistaken, which we'll get into because I think that's amazing. What stands out most from this piece, the dial is beautiful. It's got you guys know I love gradient dials.
Yes.
This thing starts from like a dark blue and goes a little slate into a soft gray that kind of mirrors the tungsten bezel. And so with this piece, speaking of, just a quick gloss over with the Change for the Better initiative, this was made to sort of commemorate the partnership between you guys and UNESCO.
It's a UNESCO heritage site,
Right.
The Dewadden Sea. It's Dewat is Dot Watt, I should say, is the nickname for the Wadden Sea. And
Okay.
that's how it's called. So it's a UNESCO heritage site, and the gradient of the dial was meant to kind of show the
tide
going from the tide, so from the
Nice.
sand into the water, and that's kind of the colorway that you see, and that's how it was made. And then with the point, it's a tidal area, so the pointer moon complication is a tide complication, so that's tying it all together.
Yeah, it's got a
fitting into
lunar
that
calendar in there. And this will tell you essentially, I guess, throughout the
when it's high tide,
when it's high tide and it's low tide.
yeah, depending on the phase of the moon.
It's tight.
Yeah,
Was there limited production on that, VJ?
there is. Yeah, it was a limited edition, 2,000 pieces, and there's no more left.
Wow. That's incredible.
So I
Congratulations.
can say that. Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, so,
And the man of the hour, what are you wearing today? What's the CEO of Oris North America wearing?
it's the watch I've been wearing since September of 2020 when it came out on Roberto Clemente Day.
There you
Awesome.
go.
So I'm also wearing the Roberto Clemente. Ben was talking about the patina of the strap, so this was the original strap. So
Oh wow!
Yeah,
So
you're in
that's
the
darkened
you're in
quite a
the
bit.
you're in the future right now.
his is relatively new. Mine is that's how it looks now.
Yeah.
And I just love the watch. I mean, I love everything that it stands for. I love the watch. It just makes me smile. I know, kind of working on the project, meeting the Clemente family, like those, just kind of talking about the humanitarian side of it, very much on brand for us. But just, and being a baseball fan, growing up a baseball fan. So it ties all those things together that you want to do. And, I love it, and I haven't really taken it off my wrists for that
Incredible.
long.
That's the way a watch should be worn.
Yeah.
And there's 3,000 of these, but you mentioned to me off camera earlier that there's not actually 3,000 available. That was never really the case.
Correct. So what we did was we actually took all the former Roberto Clemente Award winners. If you're not familiar with the Roberto Clemente Award in Major League Baseball, after he passed in 1972, they renamed the Commissioner's Award to the Clemente Award, which basically is given to the person in the league in that year that really goes above and beyond for the community, does a lot of community service, community work. And each team nominates, so of the 30 team, everybody nominates someone on their team to get it, and then they give the watch to the winner.
That's incredible.
So it's been happening since 1972. So we actually went back and gave the winners of the award, and if they were deceased, their family got the watch of the number of the year that they won. So
Wow.
Derek Jeter won in 2009, so he received 2009 of 3,000, and
So
Nelson
cool.
Cruz.
It's incredible.
I had no idea. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
So another one of my questions, the strap, it takes on the characteristic of a baseball glove. So, did you use for example, Wilson leather or anything?
It wasn't Wilson leather, but we tried to kind of give it the feel of that, the strap that we use, and give it the feel of that, the double stitching sort of symbolic of a baseball glove in much the same way. And then the colorway on the dial itself is that of the Pittsburgh Pirates. So if you've seen any of the uniforms of that time period of the Pirates, they have that same color. And then we also included, there's a second strap on this. It's actually a blue, the gold and black strap as the Pirates.
Okay.
So there's a NATO strap that comes with the set. It's a really cool.
Nice.
It's a cool piece. Yeah.
It's really cool.
Very thoughtful design.
Did you cheat at all and put vegetable oil and stuff on it?
I did not
people
do.
do baseball players?
I did not do anything of that nature.
My
I just have
dad
been
used to make me
wearing
do
it,
crazy
right?
stuff like that when I was playing baseball.
So I'm pretty hard
Vegetable oil and stick it under the mattress.
Make it look like you were
Put it
doing
rubber.
something.
Put it rubber.
Make it
band.
soft.
Put a ball in it.
Exactly.
Put a rubber band.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh
like
man,
that. I like that.
that's
Super
awesome.
Yeah.
So getting to know you. Where are you from?
I'm a New Yorker.
Respect.
So
There you
yes,
go.
I'm a New
Yes.
Yorker.
I knew we were in good company.
I'm a suburban New Yorker, though. I'm a Rockland County kid.
Rockland County. I'm from
Yeah.
Westchester
Okay.
originally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, no one. If I tell you I'm from Congress, New York, that's where I grew up.
Gotcha.
No one ever knows Congress, so we always just default to Rockland County because
Sure.
everybody seems to know that. So yeah, I spent most of my early years there, and then I've been in the watch industry since I was 23.
Oh wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Where did you get your start at?
I started at the Movado Group.
Okay.
So on the corporate side in Movado, years ago. I started in the finance department. Someone I had worked with at my former job, went to work for the Movado Group, which at the time was a North American watch company before they went public. So I said, okay, yeah, and it was much, I liked watches, watches were cool. And I was like, okay, I'll go there. And yeah, here I am that many years later in the watch industry. But no, it's been great. And I love it. It's a great thing. Oris is a great brand. I've been with Oris for 11 years.
Oh, wow.
Amazing.
So,
Wow. It's in your DNA now.
So yeah. So, but yeah, Rockland born and raised.
Shout out to Rockland County.
Yankee fan.
That's the way you do it. I think I hope everyone in this room is a Yankee fan.
That's why I wore my cap.
Otherwise, there's a door.
That's why I wore my cap. Yeah.
My parents they're from the Bronx originally, so I spent a lot.
That's
of time
where I was born and
I
raised.
spent a lot of time in the Bronx when I was a kid. So,
Yeah.
Nice.
What sparked your interest in timepieces?
I mean, I think, you think back to the early time, and it's a question you get a lot doing, being in the industry. And it's like, well, what happened? My dad always wore a watch. Like I remember him wearing, a Timex.
I kind of feel like that's where we all
exactly.
come from.
Yeah.
With a flexible band, with
I
Was
remember
it one of those metal stretch bracelets?
He used to wear that all the time.
Yeah.
And I got into that. I mean, like most kids, I guess I had a Mickey Mouse watch when I was like,
Absolutely
7 or 8 years old. And then I remember the first watch that I actually bought, and I don't know if I should say this, but I think I bought, I never was wearing a watch for a period of time. And then I bought like a knockoff piece down in Manhattan sometime.
Okay.
What
was it?
It was a knockoff Patek, I think, at the time.
Oh, you spent the big bucks.
But I didn't even know to be honest, I didn't even know what it was. I'm like, I just like the look of it. I was like, okay, I'll have that. And
I'm curious if he upsold you, like if the counterfeit dealer was like, hey, we got Rolex and stuff.
So it's just like, I like it. I want to say it was like $18. I don't know. Something like that.
But that's like 300 now.
Yeah.
But I had a Swatch too. I remember having a Swatch.
Yeah, we're big fans of Swatch.
Yeah, I had a Swatch when I was a kid. And then, as I got older, and obviously as I got into the industry, I then acquired a lot of pieces. I usually acquired pieces from places that I've worked. So I had, a lot of Movados. I had a lot of Concord ESQs at the time, Coach pieces, because that's what they were.
Sure.
I had my grandfather's Benrus. He had a Benrus, square Benrus piece. I have that. I got a gold piece for my high school graduation from my grandmother. It was I have that piece still. So yeah, there's some pieces, but I always, Oris. I've been stuck on Oris for a long time.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
I like what they are, like what they're about. I actually brought one. I brought my first Oris today.
Let's check that out. What do we have here?
So I don't know if this is the Big Crown Pointer Day.
Yeah.
So one of the earlier versions of it, small secondhand loom, coin edge bezel, 645 ETA movement in this one. So this one is it's about 11 years old. So that's when I got it. Yeah. So, but I love it. I wore this watch for a very long time, and I go back to it every so often. And it became known as my VJ's watch in our company because I used to wear it all the time. So
I love the typefaces that you guys use for the numbers.
Yeah.
So, and then we have this is a Carl Bashir.
Yeah, this is another one in my personal collection. This is an original Carl Bashir from 2016. So I haven't done anything with this watch. So there's no, I've worn it, taken it out. I've taken it, I've worn it, I think, fishing a few times. So that's some of the sea salt that you see on there, or some of the sea's gotten on it, but I haven't cleaned it. I haven't treated it in any way. So
we talk about, we're big fans of bronze watches, and we talk about it often. And especially Rashawn, I know he's really big on purposing watches.
Yeah.
The thing is tight.
No, this is amazing. I mean, I was just like starstruck for a second. I was like, ooh. I think, for me and why we love Oris so much is just the stories that, these timepieces tell, not only behind the reason why they're created, but just like when you wear them and purpose them. Obviously this being the original Carl Bashir, and then looking at it, years later down the line, and you can tell that this watch has been appreciated, it's been loved, and it's been cared for. And for me, like, this is awesome. This is really, really great. It also attests to, your story as well, just where you've been and your appreciation for timepieces and how long you have been in the industry. And like we said before, just kind of starting with the simplest of watch.
Yep.
And then you kind of build your collection and you find things that you love.
Yeah,
and
it
then
evolves over time with you.
it just speaks to that
Especially
testament.
bronze.
Yeah, especially bronze.
Yeah, because you were wearing a cotton candy
Yeah.
a couple episodes back.
I got that wet. I took that thing in the bath with me. Just to see what would happen. Yeah, just to see what would happen.
All right.
Yeah, no,
respect.
That's why my bezel was so dark so fast.
I love that. So I think where I want to go next, I think what separates Oris from a lot of other watch companies is that aside from a design philosophy, you guys actually have like a philosophy in terms of like how you choose partners that you associate with, estates that you guys work with, and different causes that you guys represent. Where did that philosophy come from? What sparked that sort of vehicle of thought for you guys as a company? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Sure. I mean, I think, the first thing that we like to think about is that, we're a global company. So we have this global voice that can tell these things. So why not use it for a good purpose? Why not do that? Obviously, yes, we sell watches. We all sell watches. That's
Sure.
that's what it's, that's what we do. But why not turn that and use that to basically tell the stories that need to be told? And, the ocean stuff we've been in for a long time, and it was just more like commonsensical. It was more like, we make a lot of product that revolves around the ocean. We make a lot of things. The ocean is good to us from our business. The ocean, if we didn't have the ocean per se, it wouldn't be
any of us.
Yeah,
as us,
exactly.
right? Successful. But and obviously as humans, if we didn't have the ocean and what's there. So I think as a company, we have this sense about us to try to do the right thing, to basically, use our voice to tell those stories. So the change for the better and all these ocean initiatives just really sprung from that. And it was, and then each year we came out with a new one, and we kept, but then we started doing things from different social causes, or, like Carbershire or some of those type pieces like Clemente, in later years, but doing things that really were able to tell those stories that needed to be told. I mean, look at the Brashear story. I mean, it's a great story. Like, it needs to be out there. It needs to be to be told to the world. And I think it's that sort of platform, and that's how we've done it. But it's amazing to see the effect that these things have, and it's not just talk. Like, it's not just we want to do this. It's like we came out a few years back with the first, not the carries for it, but the one prior to it, which was the Staghorn for the Coral Restoration Foundation, right?
Okay.
They're an organization down in Florida that they basically replant coral. They grow coral, replant coral. Their technique has become that basically the leading technique in the world for anybody doing this work. And to be part of that, and to, we ran, when we launched the watch, we ran a press trip down there. We brought people down there. And not only did we just say, here's the watch, we actually put people in the water to see it, to scuba dive, to snorkel, to see what actually was going on. It was just such an experience that, it's those kind of things. And then that story gets told, and what these people are doing. And I think that's how it starts, and that's how it grows.
Yeah. That's incredible. And go ahead, Rashawn. You got it.
No, when you were telling, the story of, or at least kind of get into the story of Carl and just what, like Clemente and Carl and what they mean on like the philanthropy side and their contribution to just like overall life in existence. What I love so much about Oris and makes Oris so cool is that other brands will quote unquote sponsor an athlete, or, the public will go ahead and name a watch after a specific public figure, but it really doesn't attach to the individual. But you guys actually, attach these watches like, this is the Roberto Clemente, this is the Carl Bashir. These are the reasons why we are, naming it behind these, important individuals. And I think that I like, there isn't a brand that's out there that has done that, or at least not to the scale that you guys are.
Yeah, I can't think of any brand that's done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
It's awesome. I think what makes it super unique is as someone who enjoys and loves timepieces, you live with these things. These are objects, but at the same time, there's a relationship that's established between you and your watch. And when you have, for me at least, when you have these stories attached to it, there's a constant evolution of discovery.
Yes.
That I really, really enjoy. And it just takes you down a rabbit hole, because it's like, you own a Carl Bashir watch, then you want to know everything about Carl Bashir, right? And it's a piece that when you're in room with, you're among like-minded people, or just people who are interested and have questions about what you're wearing, it's like, now you have a story to go along with it, and an experience in a moment is created, which I think is priceless.
It's an emotional connection.
100%.
That connection.
That's really what makes the watch yours, is that emotion.
Yeah,
like you said, you're in a room full of people and you have to tell them, I own the Carl Bashir, and they see it.
And they're like, who's Carl Bashir?
They're asking questions. It's like, okay, like, this is mine. Like, this is mine to own and claim, and to also share and spread.
Yes.
So that's powerful, to be honest.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
Very
super powerful. And to continue on with what we're talking about for the Change for Better initiative, we're looking at a picture of one of your most recent releases this year, the Aquis date Upcycle, which I thought was an incredible launch, an incredible initiative, but also it's like to take, oftentimes when like brands try to do something for a good cause, everyone kind of just gathers around it because it's for a good cause. And it's like, all right, we'll buy into it because this is what we're doing. But you guys actually also design like amazing product.
Darn good watch.
And so the dials, dials on these have a very painterly quality to them. They've gotten a lot of attention. I see them all over the blogs, all over Instagram. I'm interested in this piece and how this actually came about.
Yeah. So the Upcycle, we wanted to do something. A couple years ago, we made the Clean Ocean, which is Clean Ocean limited edition, where the case back was actually made of a disc of PET plastic, like you see.
Mm-hmm.
But we really wanted to do something that was over the, basically brought it out in a much more overt way. So we came up with this, and it's amazing to see just how the reception of it, the way people react to it, just how it is, the colors. They're beautiful. Like, gorgeous. Put them in front of you. Like, each one of them is just beautiful, especially, and it's such a joy to see people react to them and how they are, and how, like, the way they, what they are. And it's not just that, it's like someone has a beautiful timepiece, but then it's saying something about them. They want to say that they stand with this, that they agree with this, or this is something that people should be talking about.
Yeah.
When you think about the watch, and, as with anything, there's always, this is, the littlest piece of plastic. Do you think this is saving the world? This, of course it's not. That's not what it's about. It's about having the conversation about this piece. It's about someone starting a conversation.
Yeah, it's the first step.
Yeah. Because let's face it, people buying luxury watches are the people that can make a difference, that 100%. Have the means, that have the income, that have those things to really make a difference in their lives, to not buy things or not use plastics or not, everyone can make a change.
Yes.
And, with this program, and when we launched this watch, we're not just talking about, hey, let's just put this out there and do it. We are actually taking steps as a company to make ourselves. We declared ourselves carbon neutral. We went through the steps of doing that.
I was planning on asking you about that.
As a global organization to do that. We'll publish a climate report in 2022 to talk about kind of how we're doing those things and what we're doing. So, we try to put our money where our mouth is, not just talk about it, but actually do something about it.
Yes.
I think that resonates with me. I think that statement definitely deserves respect and merit amongst the watch community. Because you guys aren't just talking about it, you're actually doing it. And I think that this is a prime example of what has been preached to me since childhood about recycling, right? And then the whole conversation of upcycling and what does that mean? And so you look at these two luxury timepieces, and you guys are literally showing people this is what you can do if you participate, if you do the right thing, if you care about the environment. Like, it doesn't have to be even like plastic in the ocean or just like in your home, and your trash doesn't have to be discarded and you don't see it. And it's like, no, this stuff can be repurposed.
Yes.
And they can be reused as actual products, or they can be, sort of encapsulated in these beautiful timepieces. And so it takes me to a place like, well, what else can we do?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what? One of my questions for you, VJ, because although the watch does have a good cause and it has a great story, but then on the flip side, it is a darn good watch. Yeah. By design, this thing is amazing. And if you have seen more than one of the upcycles, no matter the case size, all of the dials are different.
Yeah, I think
so
that's
there's
what we all like too.
They're all one of one, which is extremely cool. Kind of with that color splotching on the dial, it brings like that artistic side. So I was kind of wondering if this was looked at as more of an art piece, or it just like kind of came out that way and was like, oh shoot, we got something.
It's both, I think.
I mean, I think the intention also with the PET was to, create something beautiful out of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
To create something, but I think, and it was designed to be that because it was unique, it was such a good material to use because they would become unique and they would become that. I don't know if the way they, have come out to be was 100%, expected. The reaction to them would be expected. But I mean, I spent time. I don't even have any more of the ones I would have brought them to show you.
Wow.
We don't even have them because they're so popular. So it's been good. But yeah, I think I wouldn't say it was a happy accident. I would just say that it was designed that way, but the reaction to it has been
That's amazing.
really overwhelming.
Yeah. VJ, I have one last question before we move on. You made a comment about Oris being carbon neutral.
Yeah.
How can you share any details about how that happened? And do you think it happened because maybe you guys recycled or upcycled your own materials? Because I know a lot of these brands, when they make something, if it goes wrong, it kind of goes in the trash.
I think what we did was not. I think what we did, we basically measured our carbon footprint as a company. So whether that's from what we put out in the factory, a lot of carbon comes from travel, airplane travel, logistics of shipping things here and there. So we examined a lot of our processes around doing that sort of thing, and we've kind of set a goal to 10% every year reduce our carbon footprint.
Yeah.
But we went out and we made some changes, like in our factory in Holstein. We basically changed the roof to solar panels. So basically took the roof and made it all solar panels. We're now, as of a few weeks ago, producing our own energy, right? So
It's amazing.
like that kind of stuff that's happened. But then we also just offset our, we basically funded our offset of carbon, for the company. So that's how we accomplished it. So, but it's
incredible.
But we have these internal programs throughout the world, through all of our Oris offices and subsidiaries throughout the world and partners. And that's how we try to do it. And it's amazing too, because, we've done these cleanup days. We did a couple cleanups and things like that. And now we have some of our retail partners, they're like organizing cleanups on on the West Coast, one of our
Yeah.
retailers out there. They did this, and watch groups did this whole thing. So if you guys are ever up for it, I mean, we could certainly set something up.
Oh,
and
we
can,
love that.
Oh yeah,
can
let's
do
do
that.
Well,
it.
you know,
Absolutely.
What's so funny is that a really good friend of mine, you know, and like you said before, it's like my favorite, you know, quote that you said was, "We put our money where our mouth was," or we put our action to, you know, to put forth. And so I had a really good friend of mine that actually did some communal work with you and went out to was it Memphis?
Oh, out in when we
Nashville?
had our training
Nashville.
in Nashville. Yeah.
So it was in Nashville where you guys actually did kind of like clean up the sea and pull plastic and
and that was you know, we have a national training every year for some people, you know, some of our retail partners, and we went out and, you know, we were thinking about ways, you know, normally we do some sort of team building activity or, you know, you do like a scavenger hunt or you do something, and we're like, let's do something that really makes a difference. So we teamed up with the Keep Tennessee Beautiful, the river organization down there. We brought boats. We had about probably 50 people or so, and we spent a couple hours cleaning up the river. And I think, you know, the first reaction of people was like, wow, am I going to go do this? But I think after it was such a feeling of community and such a feeling of accomplishment. And you kind of drew an understanding as to why this stuff is done and how much trash in that short period of time gets pulled out of the river and that sort of thing. So it was definitely rewarding.
That's
and
amazing.
I think that's important.
Yeah.
You know, so
We need to do one of those at Rockaway Beach this summer.
Listen, the rich
I
check
love
crew
We'll
is
be there for days though.
I love Rockaway.
do that.
Walking
Oh my
on that
God.
sand's like walking on glass.
Oh, man.
So what I mean, staying on this subject a little bit longer and you know, considering all the different partnerships and causes that you guys are part of, what I'm most curious about is the design process. So does Oris have a team of designers, or how big is that team? And B, how much does the cause or the partnership affect the overall design? Are you collaborating with these estates or these organizations? How does that play out? Because I think in terms of what you guys offer design-wise, it's always incredibly thoughtful to what the overall mission is with that partnership.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pieces is and I hope I don't butcher this name, the Okavango watch, which I thought was just, I'm a sucker for green dials.
Makes two of us.
If you've watched the show, and I'm sure you have, you've probably heard that on every episode. But this watch is beautiful, and it's this one, and then there's the Art Blakey watch, which I thought is just so jazzy.
No, and I think no pun intended, right? I think that's no, and I think to your question, our design team is small. We have a small team of designers that go through, but I think it's just that it's what is the subject that we're working with, and then taking the design cues or taking the elements of those things and doing it in a way that tells the story, but is not in your face, right? Is not a in your face type of thing. And you know, the Okavango with kind of mimicking the plains, the grassy plains of Botswana there, the Okavango Delta, that's kind of the theme of the dial, and how that looks. That's it. The Art Blakey, it's a snare drum. So it's not like, you know, here's Art Blakey's autograph and it's all over the dial and here it is an Art Blakey limited edition. It's more like he was a drummer and, you know, what's that about? And if you look closely at that, it doesn't hit you in the face, but if you study it and you understand, you see that it's that. If the second hand is that of or the hands are that of drumsticks.
Yeah.
And then if you turn it over, there's a symbol like a drum.
Yeah.
You know, the back of it is the symbol. So it's like stuff like that says this is a piece that's meant to celebrate Art Blakey as a jazz drummer, but it's not in your face like here it is. It's more of those design cues and that. Even with the Clemente, you know, the
Mhm.
21 in gold, the colorway of the team, like that kind of stuff. That's how we go about doing things. That's the design process that we use.
I think that's awesome because it says that it's all very intentional.
Yeah.
And when I think about my generation and then the generations that are coming after me, you guys have your finger on the pulse because these are the issues that they care about. These are the things that are most important to them. And at the same time, we don't want to sacrifice taste and style.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there's an artisanal quality to the watches that you guys are producing that you don't really see in the industry. I think, you know, the other brands I can think of, they rely on, you know, complicated movements and different ways of showing dials, but you guys are actually designing. Yeah. Which I think is a key difference. You had something?
No, I was gonna say like even like bigger brands, they kind of like you said, they rely on either complications or like their name to push the product. Yeah. Where Oris wants to make something that appeals to everybody, but also there's a reason why it does that.
And at the same time that they appeal to a wider audience, you're also targeting a very specific audience, right? So like me as a vinyl collector of jazz music, this obviously speaks to me. Like just the fact that Art Blakey estate is involved with this was like, okay, boom.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm interested in. Yeah, I think that's super cool.
You know, and I think to your point, like we try to have a purpose behind everything. It's not just like, let's throw another dial color out here and say it's that. It's more like, does it fit?
Right.
Are we doing this? Does it make sense? Is it common sense that we do this? And that's how we approach it. And honestly, you know, we have the luxury of being an independent brand, right?
I think that's the major key.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
You don't got to answer to nobody.
There's no answer to, you know, some corporate philosophy of where our brand fits in the scheme of the other brands that the corporate portfolio has, and you can't go beyond this or do this. We could do whatever we want, and we do. And
you do. I mean, it's part of,
it's like we try to do it with purpose.
And taste.
And
it's part of your
taste.
Philosophy statement. Go your own way.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which is a mantra that you guys
exactly.
Forward. Yeah.
And it's a financial independence. It's an independent company thing, but it's also a mentality. It's certainly a, you know, we have the ability to take chances, to do things, to think outside the box, to do some stuff like that other people wouldn't do. Like we try to do those things. And it's, you know, we were talking about we believe in those causes too. We believe in the environmental impact. We believe in those things and trying to be good corporate citizens about the things that we do. And that's where, you know, that's where it comes from. So
yeah. And I think it translates to me as authentic and as real, because I feel like the stuff that you guys are doing, it's pretty risky. Not a lot of watch brands would put themselves out there like this time and time again. I mean, obviously it's worked for you guys. So there's a level of fearlessness, right? Fearlessness involved because you've seen the success from putting yourself out there and partnering with these organizations and these different initiatives and then putting designs forth. Yeah. You know, there's this new one that you guys just released. This is a favorite of Rashawn. He sent me a picture of this the other day. He's like, man, you got to come check this out.
Yes,
this is the Sun Wukong, which commemorates the Monkey King film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Why do you love this watch, Rashawn?
It's really, really cool. I love it. It's very artistic. You know, on the show, we always speak of, you know, just an artistic design and a cool factor. Some of the things that just like goes under the radar or undertoned. And it's one of those, if you know, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then when those things are pointed out, when these timepieces are presented, then you're like, oh, shoot, you know, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
The coolest part to VJ's point is like when he was talking about, you know, just being an independent brand and answering to only, you know, the inner circle is really, really cool because we do know of so many brands that have, you know, so many layers and so many, you know, skins to peel from the onion. The fact that Oris is an indie brand and is at a very good price point is phenomenal, because we know of indie brands that go ahead and they jack their price points 2-3 times, just like where they should be. And they use that to kind of validate who they are. Whereas Oris goes ahead and says, listen, we put this darn good watch out and this is where it's set at.
I love this watch too, but it's from like a super niche, nerdy, unrelated standpoint.
Exactly.
So you, Rashawn, you know this about me.
Yes.
I love Naruto. If you don't know what Naruto is, Naruto is an anime.
Sure.
And I love this watch because the third Hokage of the Leaf Village, his transformation jutsu was actually Sun Wukong. So he would transform to the Monkey King and have this long staff that would extend and get short and he would fight with. So when I saw this, I was like, this is Lord Hiruzen, the third Hokage.
Yes.
And it put like an instant smile on my face.
Yeah. And also too, the hands is kind of like, it looks like a staff.
Yeah. That's super cool.
Like
that
that second hand is definitely a staff.
Yeah, it
like,
is.
You know,
it's funny. I didn't notice that.
And that's the thing. If you know, you know.
If you know,
and the gradient and the dial is like what it looks like if you were to spin the staff really fast.
Exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Well, I think what's great about this, and to your point, Rashawn, is that what you guys are doing, whether intentionally or unintentionally, is you're fostering a culture of watch collecting.
Yes.
Amongst people who are fans of you or people who are newly introduced to you, because there's the collaborative essence to what you're doing, which is tied to good causes. And then there is the exclusivity element to it. And then the excitement behind all of the partnerships. It's the kind of thing where it's like, I think anyone who sees themselves as an Oris customer or is introduced to Oris will pick up multiple watches.
Yes.
I think I mean, once you know the story of the brand and once you know what the brand is about, it's hard not to be attracted to it, right? Because it's something you're offering a good product for the money. It's something that makes sense. It's something that it's very good watchmaking. It's not like it's an and I talk relatively, right? Because people spend a lot of money on watches and but it's an inexpensive price point for what it is. I mean,
for a Swiss made luxury watch, yes.
We punch well above our weight in terms of
definitely.
like, price point, what the value that gets offered and things like that. And I think, that's the philosophy that we undertake. But like, and to just with the community too, it's like we have this, we try to inspire inclusiveness, like not be like, old luxury was very, I'm in this club, and if you're not in this club, you're out.
Yes.
It's more like everybody likes watches, and no matter if you're wearing a $20 watch or you're wearing a $20,000 watch, like everybody likes watches, and that's what it's about. It's about that being part of that, and that's where we try to, that's where we really just open up and be like that. Because the other way, it's just not.
It's not fun.
It's not fun.
Yes. Phenomenal philosophy.
It's we talk about all the time. It's like it becomes this thing where like everyone has to like check in a box, and at that point, it just kind of feels like homework.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas like the actual, collecting watches should be fun. You know what I'm saying? If you're fortunate enough to be able to buy more than one watch, to be able to look at your collection and decide what you want to wear today based on how you feel, is one of the most gratifying feelings. You develop a bond with these pieces, and then, if they have a story and everything else that comes along with it, it just adds to it. Moving on, I think the next question, which was something that came up in the previous episode, and I'm interested to hear where you guys stand on this.
Yes, please.
Because we talked about this.
Oh my goodness.
What? So Rashawn hit me, and Rashawn's been collecting watches for as long as I've known him.
You're gonna get me
for
a
about
hot
10
water
years.
with this one. I'm looking at this one.
And so anytime there's what I love about Rashawn is he's just loves timepieces. Like he gets excited over everything, big, small, no matter what. If he thinks it's cool, you got to give it a look. And so he hits me and he's like, man, have you seen that new Oris Rectangular? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he sends me this photo that you guys, of the new Rectangular watch, offered in several different colorways. And we were curious what inspired this sort of reintroduction, because you guys have done this before. This isn't new. But we haven't seen this in a little bit. So if you can talk about this, where did this come from?
Yeah, I think it was just about, again, doing things a little differently. Just, being able to experiment and play around with some colors and things like that. We colors have always been one of our strengths, and it seems like square watches were kind of making a little bit of a comeback.
Definitely are
in that sense.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we wanted to do something that was on point with that, and in the way that we do it. And yeah, they've been they've been really also very well received by people, and seeing all the different colors and that sort of thing. I mean, I think the question is, which one of them is your favorite?
Listen, I'm red all day.
Yeah,
I won't ask
next to him.
That's
That's the one I
sent.
sent. I sent you the photo on the wrist. I was like, you got to come see this.
So I haven't
this is
seen
hot.
this one in person yet. I got to come down there.
In the previous episode, I said I wasn't the biggest fan. Sorry, VJ.
It's
I'm
okay.
still not
Listen,
the biggest fan,
That's
but
listen,
red is the best.
it's you don't have to be the biggest fan of everything. Like, that's what it's about, right?
Yeah.
People we like what we like. We like
Yeah.
different things and certain looks and ways, and
Sure.
that's what it's all about. So
I think from a design perspective, I think the K-shape is on the money. I love the straps. I think the dial is cool. What was most interesting was going back and looking at some of the vintage pieces that you've done, or the earlier pieces. So I found like even this,
what's your date?
the pointer date rectangular,
That's really cool.
which is awesome. Like gold case, and it's got all of the stuff that you best know Oris for, right? Like that pointer date is like unmistakable.
Those hands too.
And it just looks super luxe. And then you guys had even done in the past, if I can bring that up, there was like a moon phase. This was probably a little more recent.
Yeah, a little more recent.
But this thing is fire. One of my questions was with the new one, I'm like 90% there. The other 10%, the dial feels to me like, and it's funny, I was talking to the guys about this. I was like, man, you know what I haven't seen in a while that I would love to see? I would love to see Oris use that shield.
Yep.
That logo is fire, especially with all the colors.
Yes.
And when you look at, I don't even know if this was intentional, but when you look at the offering of the strap, that's the color of that logo. It's the yellow, blue, and red.
The old logo. That's interesting.
I'm saying.
Look at that.
All right.
I'm
Point
saying.
taken. Point
So if
taken.
there's a redo,
Point taken. Point taken.
holla at your boy. But I think an amazing design. I like the reinterpretation. If it wasn't for this, I would not have gone back and looked at the other offerings that you guys have done in the past. And I think that's, I love that you guys do things like that. Like you have this archive and this history, and you'll go back occasionally and you'll bring out older styles and kind of remind people where you were, so that they know where you've been.
Yeah.
And then we see where you're going with all the initiatives that you have now.
Yes.
No, and I think that's it too. Like when you talk about the history of the brand and you talk about the heritage that we have, we've been making watches in the same factory since 1904.
Wow.
Well,
You guys discuss the Quartz Crisis a lot on this show.
Yes.
Right. So you talk about it, and I think it's important to understand at that time too, like, we were one of the 10 largest manufacturers in Switzerland in the early 70s, right before the Quartz Crisis came. So we were one of the, we put out a lot of units a year. one of the, we had 5 factories producing
wow.
our own movements, doing
Wow.
that sort of thing. And what the Quartz Crisis did was all the manufacturers that were making their own movements, that were making their own parts, it basically consolidated the industry down to basically save the industry. So instead of 10 people making movements, their own movements, it was like, okay, we'll have one company,
Right.
ETA, make the movements, and everybody will buy from this company.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
So
I
there's
never heard that
efficient-
before.
so there's
it made you guys more
efficiencies.
efficient.
So there
Yes.
was efficiencies in what was done.
Right.
So
Yes.
when you talk about that, and then you bring, you run in. So ETA was basically supplying all the movements to people. Everybody bought from them. Salida was basically an assembler of ETA using the ETA prints, and they made basically the same movements, but they assembled them that way. But the whole industry was using that. So then when the Swatch group some years ago, 10 years ago, whenever the time was, said, we're not going to sell our movements to anybody else, to the industry people, especially in Switzerland that had been there a long time, that was a big deal because it was, you had, in our case, you had 70 years of manufacturing capability built up, closed down, and then you're expecting to basically build that back up again in 5 years to try to supply movements. So there was a lot of companies in that boat, which you may not realize, but that was the situation, right?
Destroyed
So
a lot of
it's like-
brands.
Yeah. So it's like, how do you do that? So
Yeah.
the camaraderie, or that sort of notion of the community of, there was a little bit of, it was an issue
Yeah.
Yeah.
at the time.
So I do have a question because I was talking to a client, and they were referring to the Quartz Crisis, and maybe you can kind of school me on this because I have no idea of the facts on this. But supposedly it actually wasn't the Japanese that created the Quartz Crisis. Although they created the Quartz movement, it actually was, and we won't name the brand, but it was a specific Swiss brand that actually created the Quartz Crisis
I have some insight on that too.
because
Name the brand.
so it was
Name the brand.
so supposedly it was Gerard Perregaux
Okay.
that actually, because so originally
they
a
did the first
Quartz
digital
Yeah.
wristwatch. I should
So,
say.
well, the deal was this. So supposedly, actually a Quartz watch was the cost of like an automobile. So it wasn't like a Quartz watch was actually cheap.
Right.
It still was expensive, but it just was as far as the convenience and the fact that you can actually crank them out.
The other thing too with the Quartz Crisis is that, have you guys heard of Beta 21 before? I'm sure VJ has, or maybe you haven't, but Beta 21 is called 21 because it was 21 different brands who came together to create the first Quartz movement. 21 different brands.
Yes,
21 different Swiss brands
exactly.
who came together. Well, 20 Swiss, 1 Japanese. We know Japanese is Seiko.
Yes.
That's a no-brainer. The other 20 Swiss brands we can all put together. It's
Sure.
exactly who you expect.
Of
Yes.
course.
All the big names. They came together to create the first Quartz movement. With that being said, Seiko was the first to actually use that Quartz movement, which is what caused the Quartz Crisis to happen.
Yes.
Mm.
But then do you know, or any of you guys know as far as like GP's handing it?
GP did the first, at least what I know, to my knowledge, to be the first digital wristwatch. So you remember those old Kale boxes we had when we were kids that were black with the red
Yeah.
Yes.
red numbers?
Yes.
They essentially took that and made it a wristwatch.
Ah.
Oh, wow.
It's called the cassette. They actually auctioned one off for Only Watch a couple months ago.
Oh,
I think we
remember
spoke
that.
about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it was
talked-
in a
yes,
carbon
we
case.
saw
Yes.
that one.
It was-
Yeah,
that was a reinterpretation of what they did in the 70s.
Interesting.
I'm not sure if now that your client saying GP making the first one. I don't know about that because I'm pretty sure it was Seiko.
No, it's saying no. As far as the first Swiss one.
Sure.
Yeah,
Probably.
the first Swiss one.
Probably. I
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
that. Because
So-
no one else is really doing it. You know, at that time, that's when AP came out with the Royal Oak. And then Bulgari followed with the same case design and bracelet. And then Rolex needed to catch up. So what they do? Oyster Quartz.
Sure.
Which
Yes.
they only made a couple of. Like there's a handful of those to go around.
I
which
mean,
is
they're
why
going
so
up right
expensive
now.
in the vintage market.
Crazy.
Oyster Quartz is so expensive now.
We had a moment of making quartz too. Like we had a small moment of making quartz movements.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but that, to be honest, that was part of the reason why. So there was a period of time where we were owned by Asawag, a short, about 10-year period of time.
Okay.
And it was then that we made quartz movements, and then in '82, Dr. Portman, who was the general manager, and Ulrich Herzog, who was the marketing manager, did a leverage buyout of the company, took the brand back independent in that moment. And we only made mechanical watches from that point on in 1982.
Yes.
So,
well, while we had those square ones pulled up, what I will say is what I love about them is a couple points. Number one is variety. Number two is size.
Yes.
Number three is that they're automatic.
I'm going with yellow.
I'm going red all day. Bro. They're automatic. That size to pull off an automatic movement is crazy. And they have an exhibition case back.
Yes.
I challenge you to find a watch not only in this shape, but in this size with an exhibition case back. It's almost impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And what price point are these, BJ?
They're $19.50.
So $19.50 for an automatic watch in this size, exhibition case back. It just really lets you know that Oris is a brand that does not compromise.
Yes.
At all.
Yes. You know what's so cool too is, and what I love so much about having VJ here and even us getting together in this show in its own is the fact that, you know, previously we spoke about this timepiece and everybody was like on the fence, but then you do your homework and then you go ahead and you say, actually,
yeah,
I enjoy this.
As much as I can talk about not being the biggest fan, I respect and I understand why it exists wholeheartedly.
I like it. Well, but what I'm saying is like, you know, to the testament of this show and just having an open conversation. And to VJ's point is like, he said like, maybe this isn't for you, but then when you kind of,
that's okay.
And that's okay.
Absolutely.
And then you understand, but then you kind of circle back and you do your homework and you see previous pieces to your point, P, because you go ahead and say, well, I've seen older pieces and you know what? I've actually grown to love the repro, the new, you know, the innovative,
you know
so on and so forth.
Me? Cartier who?
Yeah, I mean, it does channel the Cartier tank. And what it does is, for me at least, it makes it a little bit more fun, a lot less serious. Mm-hmm. You know, the Cartier tank is a classic piece. I mean, I would love one, but you see that, you know what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, I know that in certain circles, if I wear this, I'm going to get a lot more attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are going to say, what are you wearing?
Yeah.
You know, especially with the straps. I think the straps make it really, really fun. Mm-hmm. There's an Apple-like quality to it in terms of presentation, which I think is smart. But also I like having options.
That's great.
You know,
great.
white dial, yellow strap, good combo.
Yes.
And you need a date for your dress watches, so there you go.
I do need a date for my dress watch. That's right. We talked about that.
We spoke about that.
Two episodes ago. Yes, because when I'm at a function I don't want to be at.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to know what's happening tomorrow.
Yes. No, it's amazing. Awesome.
Well, that's been fun.
Enough about you, VJ.
Oris. Oris is an incredible.
What are we talking about next?
Incredible brand. What we talk about next? We got something. I mean, we kind of, you know, the elephant in the room.
Yeah, shakes the room.
We kind of have to talk about it.
Shakes the room.
So, glad to have you here for this because now you just get to be one of the guys. So welcome, honorary Rich Check podcast member, VJ.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Lot 1T.
Woo.
In the Philippe auction. Those who were paying attention this weekend, I know I think everybody was watching on Instagram Live. Lot 1T was the Patek Philippe Tiffany 170th anniversary Nautilus with the Tiffany dial. This is the first Patek Philippe that is unique to Tiffany post LVMH acquisition. I think that's important for a number of reasons.
Yes.
One, I think LVMH and Patek Philippe also acknowledge that as being important because on the case back, it actually says LVMH in the one of 2021.
It's horrible.
Yes, it does.
Horrible.
So this we were talking about this leading up to it. Once we discussed it all kind of just rushed us. Like I feel like I saw the picture. I thought it was fake, and then I was like, "What the hell?"
And then
is
all the
going
captions
on?
were like, "No, this is not fake. This is not a mock-up.
Yes.
This is real."
It
This is the
happened
real
so
deal.
Fast.
Yes.
My phone blew up that morning.
Yes.
Yeah, because they dropped it in like the wee hours.
Yeah,
Yes.
they dropped it out of nowhere. They dropped everything in Swiss time.
Yes.
They were. Yeah, it was
So by the
definitely on
time
Swiss time
we
so
get
by
it,
the
it's
time
like,
we
what,
woke
4 in the
up, it
morning?
was like, "What is going on?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "This is fake.
Yeah.
Not
The
happening."
group chat went crazy. Definitely went crazy.
So
and then you read a Hodinky article and you're like, "Oh,
then you know, Hodinky reports on it. You know, it's real.
Yes.
So this was a real thing. They made 170 pieces to commemorate the 170th anniversary of Tiffany. They should have done something. I have no problem with it. But I thought the green dial was going to be the very last Nautilus.
yeah."
Yeah.
Wasn't
mean-
that we were promised that, weren't we?
I mean, Terry, when when they announced that watch, Terry Stern, CEO of Patek Philippe, he said in an interview that there would definitely be a cherry on top. I just think a lot of people misunderstood the green one as being the cherry on top.
So
Yeah.
also, just to add more to the story, before we dive full in, there was a rumor, which I feel like we can talk about now, that Patek was going to pull their product from Tiffany shelves
Because they were owned by
post LVMH acquisition.
Mhm.
That's what I was hearing.
Yeah. I think that was where on the block for a while.
That was
Yeah.
word on the block. And I think it's safe to say with this that that's not the case.
No.
This is the
If
this is the
anything,
new
it's-
relationship.
It's strengthened.
Yes. Well, because you have two powerhouses now kind of like shaking hands, because at first, LVMH, we know that they do have fashion watches and they, do produce timepieces.
I mean, LVMH they got a lot of money in the bank.
Yes. So, with that being said, they kind of absorbed a bit of Patek Philippe, or at least have to partner with them with this joint venture that they have with Tiffany, being the first and oldest jeweler for Patek Philippe in the USA,
Yeah.
as we know. So I think them placing this piece and putting it out there, celebrating the 175th year of Patek Philippe, kind of goes and say like, listen, we aren't going anywhere. If anything, we're actually going to strengthen the brand and, give a little bit more than you guys have ever seen.
I get that point, but to me, let's say I was in charge of Patek Philippe, I would have done the opposite. Maybe I would have I don't, like you said, Perri, I don't mind them doing something. I understand it. I think they should have. But the LVMH shout out on the back bothers me for a couple reasons. The first one being
It's
is
very
that-
hype beast.
a very hype beast, but also it's like, we're Patek.
Yeah.
We don't need LVMH, number one. Number two, we're independent. We don't have to listen to anybody.
Yeah.
LVMH doesn't own us. You own Tiffany.
So
And number three,
But it speaks
we
to
were here first.
But it speaks to, I think what they decided to do, and of course, we know trends. Just as an example, the 70s design of everyone doing octagon case, and obviously, we're looking at one of those benefits
most
in the
iconic
70s,
one.
iconic design in the 70s.
it's a beautiful case.
Beautiful case and
Yeah.
most iconic case. I think that, it kind of goes ahead and, kind of builds that what we're looking for. It's like what pop culture and the influence is doing now. So them putting that LVMH stamp on it is kind of like influential, because all we speak of is Louis Vuitton, the house of, so on and so forth, and everybody under the umbrella.
What that makes me think too, though, is like, as a consumer, it's like, are there even 170 of these to buy?
No.
Definitely
What do you
not.
think, VJ?
You might have
No.
to keep it political.
No.
The most technical answer on
Yes.
the podcast.
No. We'll keep it there.
I think a couple of things. I think a couple of things, and I'm going to make a prediction on this episode.
Please.
And we'll see. I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow, but so I think going back to, was it episode 5 when we talked about Virgil? I think with this, I feel I feel Virgil's design philosophy having influenced LVMH. I don't see LVMH putting their stamp on a Patek pre-Virgil.
No way. I
Doesn't
don't even
happen.
think this is an LVMH call. I think this is a straight Patek thing.
I think it's an LVMH call. And so where I'm going with this, Patek Philippe is a independent company. They're a family-owned brand. Who has enough money to put on the table to say that is no more? LVMH.
Right.
I think you will see an acquisition of Patek Philippe in the near future, probably within the next 12 to 24 months, as they negotiate what the price is. And I don't think this is the last Nautilus.
Do you think it's majority stake?
I
Patek
think that
Philippe?
LVMH will buy them outright. And I think that they will get it. I think that that's what that says.
Couple billion.
It's funny because
I think
I've
if
heard
you
that
put
conversation
LVMH
before.
on the back of your Patek Philippe Nautilus as Patek, you're saying we're for sale.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I can agree to that.
Yes. And it's funny that you said, because for guys that are in the watch industry and like knowledgeable guys, like respectable guys that like I can actually trust their opinion. I've heard that before, P. And it's
Money
almost
talks.
chilling. It's almost
Money-
chilling.
It's almost like a
talks,
submission,
and
to be
LVMH
honest.
has it.
Yeah, it's a little bit chilling.
And, you know, if I'm Patek, with everything that's happened in the watch industry, as them with these crazy auctions, do I want to be in the business anymore? Do I want to navigate these crazy sales? This watch just sold for $6.5 billion, 7.2 after taxes.
Why do we
Yeah.
need somebody else to do it though?
Why do they need someone else to do it?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to be in the business? That was happening.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah.
at some point, you might just want to retire.
True.
Yeah.
If you throw
If you don't gotta work anymore, why work?
Like, I look at it like this: LVMH gave, how much did they give Hove? $500 million.
Just
Yeah.
about, yeah.
They gave like
$400
$400 million
Yeah.
for Ace of Spades.
For Ace of Spade. Yeah.
So how much do you give Patek?
Oof.
I think you offer
Wow.
them so much money they can't say no.
Yeah.
I think at least they consider it.
But I don't disagree. I don't.
Sure.
You know, there's certainly, but I think there's a soul to the brand. There's a soul to that brand.
Like there was a soul to Tiffany.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth.
There's a soul to the brand.
Sure.
And when you come into a situation like that, some of the soul goes away.
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah, could you imagine how
100%.
crazy
And it's
Patek
not-
gets?
and
And
it's
LVMH
not
takes
It's not
over?
itself anymore.
It's not itself anymore.
And that's how you get a Tiffany and Co. Patek Philippe dial with LVMH stamp on the
In
back.
Tiffany blue.
Now let me go ahead. I wanna call it audible. I'm gonna call it audible.
Okay, Coach Smith on the play.
I like to shake things up a little bit.
Shake it up.
I think even outside of this, hopefully I'm not going off the subject, but you know, just recently we seen what Audemars Piguet was doing as far as their timepieces and how they are.
Oh, that's a whole different episode.
Now that's a whole nother episode, and maybe this is the preview into that. But now we're seeing watches being sold and traded differently. And I think in a couple of episodes prior, I spoke to what the auctions are going to mean to the watch market, whether it is direct to consumer or a private or third party. So with that being said, it's like this right here is shaking things up that we've never, ever, ever seen before.
It's shaking it up like crazy. I think what these things do is they influence consumers.
Yes.
And so, you know, you're going to have a lot of guys who can afford even a pre-owned steel Patek. They're going to be clamoring to get one. Just this morning, we saw the Rolex sub Hulk sold for $94,000.
Yep, hammered at 94. That's without premium.
So
or
what does
taxes.
that tell
Yes.
me? I'm not saying that Hulks are going to be 90 grand now.
Yes.
But the price is
The
going to
price
go
went
up
up.
Oh, the
because
price is
there's a
going
whole
up.
bunch of guys that are going to see that.
Well,
They're
the
gonna
other
say,
thing too.
I need to get a Hulk.
Yes.
That's a great
Well,
investment.
the funny thing is this, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Ben. As consulting, right? it's funny because, you know, we speak watches, we talk this language, we're around the product so much and we know what's going on. And it's funny because I've went ahead and I've texted a couple of folks and I say, hey man, you know what? You should invest in this piece because it's so and so. And like, man, why would I buy it at top of the market? And I'm like, all right, cool.
It's not top of the market.
It's not top of the market because the ceiling hasn't touched. Right. So then when the auction hit, I go ahead and I go, what do you think about this now?
Here's the other thing.
That's good.
Think about it like this.
It feels good. You can do your little Harlem shake.
Flex Hogan.
That Hulk sold at auction for 94 grand. Do we all know that they made can jar versions of that Hulk? There's a can jar Hulk Submariner. They made a couple of them. Imagine if it was a can jar version. That'd be over 6 figures all day. That'd be a quarter million.
This wasn't even
like a
rare.
Special.
No,
it wasn't even special.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was unworn.
Yeah.
But
who doesn't, I mean, not to say who doesn't have an unworn Hulk, but like who doesn't have an unworn watch somewhere sitting around?
Yes.
This just so happened to be that watch. Yes. Yeah. And the other crazy thing too, to get back on the subject of Patek, in this same lot, a standard blue dial 5711 sold right after this for like 280K.
280.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's crazy. Yeah. The price, yesterday's price, not today's price.
Shout out to Fat Joe.
Absolutely. A standard 5711 blue dial was selling for around 125. Maybe that's what they were being listed at on all the websites and all over the internet. Now, 200 minimum.
Yes. Now,
in 24
I have to
hours.
say, I don't hate this watch. It's just I don't hate it at all. It's just incredibly obvious.
Yeah,
right? It's lowest
this is the obvious
in terms of what Patek and Tiffany could come together and do. Yeah. And I think that's
it's
why
too easy
it's kind of that's why it's a little sour.
You know what I would have loved to see? You want to do 170 watches, do 170 different variations of Nautilus. You have a time and date only. You have a 5712, which has a power reserve and a moon phase with the subseconds. Yep. You have a perpetual calendar. You have a chronograph, and you have a travel time.
Well, why not split up? That's a great idea because now, like, the general public can actually get in on it.
Why not split up the 170 across 5 references and with different complications?
You know why? Because you don't get this much publicity. You don't get a watch that sells for $7 million at auction.
Yeah. At least it all went to charity.
At least it all went to charity.
So right.
Question mark.
It
does go to charity, but it's just like
it's also a tax write-off for whoever owns it. They get a write-off in the watch.
Listen, $7 million to charity, incredible.
That's great, amazing.
One hand wash, the other both wash the face. I think we know what's happening here. But it happened, and it was exciting to watch.
Yes.
And I think for me, that was like the big thing about it. As much as like I like to get on these auctions and what happens and what these watches sell for, it still feels momentous. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like at 10 a.m., everyone went on Philippe's Instagram Live and was like, this is like the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
That was the first time I ever joined a live video on Instagram.
Yes.
Not for me, but it was the first time I ever joined a live auction.
Yeah.
And
everyone was on it.
I usually keep tabs on my phone, just to see, like I'll check the website, see, which one is sold and for a price.
Mm-hmm.
But this was different.
Totally.
There was something else happening. And I don't think it was all bad. I think it garnered the attention of watch enthusiasts everywhere. And the community feels like it's growing for the better. There's some things happening that I don't agree with, but that's with anything, and that's okay. But this was a moment in our culture, in our industry. People tuned in, and I mean, I was on there commenting. I was in there. I was having a good time.
We definitely went viral. Went viral.
It was fun.
It was definitely fun.
So kudos to Patek and Tiffany and LVMH for and Phillips for at least giving us that. I think there's something to be said for that. I'm interested in seeing henceforth the sightings. Who's wearing this?
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, there's only 2 up for sale. There was Phillips, and then there was Joma Shop,
which is crazy.
Yes.
I don't think that
Joma Shop,
they got a bargain. I also don't think that listing's real.
It's
That's
not.
crazy.
They're waiting for someone to sell it.
Yeah,
to them.
they're waiting for someone to A, buy it, and then B, once they get that money, they're gonna say, okay, now we have to find one
I know-
at a price that
listen,
we can pay. And
I know
make a
Jay-Z
profit.
got 2 of them.
He got 3 of them. He got one for Blue.
Listen,
Oh yeah,
That's
he
a
might have got 3.
graduation gift.
Jay might have got 3.
That's Blue's
legit.
graduation gift.
who's he gifting one to? Because
It's staying in the family. They ain't gonna go.
no.
If
Yeah,
you ain't wearing a
generous
rock
guy.
chain, you ain't getting one.
Yeah, he might Emory Jones. Yeah, well, what a week. What a week in watches. This has been good.
Amazing.
This has been amazing.
My favorite show thus far.
This is
to
your
film.
favorite?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
man, we had BJ.
Well,
got
you know
BJ,
what?
The legend.
I haven't growled on the show.
You haven't
Oh,
growled in a little bit.
I haven't growled in a couple episodes.
How's that Momatara making you feel? There we go.
Yes. Oh man.
It's been an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you for having me.
I don't want to shut it down. I mean, if there's anything else you guys want to get off your chest, please, now's the time. You got him here. He's the man.
Oh man.
What are we doing?
VJ is the man, but I think we're gonna take this party
We're gonna, okay.
Yeah.
So
another
this is
to another
maybe
road.
you get BTS folks, maybe you don't, but at the very least, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I have. I had a lot of fun. I learned a lot about
Me as well.
Oris, which is an incredible brand. You guys should pay attention to if you're not already. And that's a wrap. That's episode 7.
Yep.
Yes.
Thank
Peace
you
out.
guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Peace.